This question is just here to brush up on your unit conversions because they can be asked at any time, and it really does stuff up a question if you don't convert your units correctly, but you can do the rest of the steps. So let's go through it quite quickly because by grade 11 this should be relatively familiar. If I'm going 15 minutes into seconds, I just need to multiply by 60 and I land up with 900 seconds. That really shouldn't be difficult. And if I'm going from seconds into minutes, then I'm going to divide by 60. And I don't say 3 minutes 30 seconds, I say 3,5 minutes. The reason for that is that they asked for the unit to be minutes, not minutes and seconds. Now it gets a little bit more tricky. If I'm going from kilometers into gigameters, I need to consider what is kilo and what is giga. Now kilo is 10 to the power of 3 and giga is 10 to the power of 9. That means that 1 gigameter is big when compared with 1 kilometer, which is small. Now if you're not good at unit conversions, try and use this method. The difference along the number line between 9 and 6 is going to be, between 9 and 3 is going to be 6. So I'm going to say 46 kilometers into gigameters. Thinking about the unit, 1 kilometer is small when compared to 1 gigameter, which is big. That will mean that the number will go from big to small. Let's just remind ourselves of why that is. Let's look at something as simple as a centimeter. 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. I don't think anyone's going to debate me on that. So we go, 1 centimeter is big, 1 millimeter is small, but 1 is small when compared to 10, which is big. So if I'm going to go from a small unit to a big unit, I'm going to go from a big number to a small number. And in order to go smaller, I need to divide. How do I do that? I go 46, and instead of divided by, I'm going to write times 10 to the negative. This little negative over here is telling me that I'm actually dividing. Multiply by a negative exponent really means divide. And what number am I going to put there? I'm going to put the 6 that I got earlier on from my hops along the number line. And that is going to be my answer, except they want it in scientific notation. So you punch it into your calculator with a setting on scientific notation, and you get 4,6 times 10 to the negative 5 gigameters. Right, if I'm doing something as simple as going from centimeters into meters, you really should know that that is a divide by 100, and you land up with 7,45 meters. So what did I do to do that? I just divided by 100. If I'm going from milliliters into centimeters cubed, 1 milliliter is 1 centimeter cubed, so that's absolute equivalency, and you're going to land up with 42 centimeters cubed. When I'm going from milliliters into liters, then I need to go, milli is 1,000th of a liter, so I am going to divide by 1,000, and I'm going to take 443, divided by 1,000, and I land up with 0,443 liters. Little bit more tricky when I'm moving from millimeters cubed to decimeters cubed. I'm just going to remind you of the cubing function. If I'm going to move from cubes, let's go millimeters to centimeters to decimeters to meters. Everyone's happy with the fact that in each case I would divide by 10, divide by 10, divide by 10. So if I'm going from millimeters all the way through to meters, I would land up dividing by 1,000. And the exact opposite is true if I am going in the opposite direction. I multiply up, multiply by 10, multiply by 10, and multiply by 10. What that does is it says that if I'm going from meters to millimeters, I would multiply by 1,000 in total. What happens is if I cube that, actually this is all happening in 3 dimensions. So I also need to cube the conversion factor, which means that if I was going from millimeters cubed to meters cubed, I would actually divide by 1 billion. And if I was going from meters cubed to millimeters cubed, I would multiply by a billion. So just be aware of what's going to happen there. So if I'm going from millimeters cubed to decimeters cubed, millimeters cubed to decimeters cubed, I am going to divide by 1 million. In other words, by 1,000 and then by 1,000 again. And I land up with 9,3 times 10 to the negative 5 decimeters cubed. That was it was 93 times 10 to the negative 6 originally. If I'm going to go from meters cubed to centimeters cubed, meters cubed to centimeters cubed, I will multiply by a million. So it's 0.06 times by a million, which is times 10 to the power of 6. And when I punch that into my calculator, I either get 6 times 10 to the power of 4, or I get 60,000 centimeters cubed. Going from grams into kilograms is simply, again, a factor of 1,000 that you've been doing since you were in grade 4. So you're going to divide by 1,000, and you're going to go 857 divided by 1,000, and you land up with 0.857 kilograms. You can express it in scientific notation. Things get a little bit more tricky when I am going to move from nanograms into micrograms. Again, nano is times 10 to the negative 9 on my scale, and micro is times 10 to the negative 6 on my scale. So how many hops have I got over here? I've got 3 hops on the number line, and I am going negative 9 is very small when compared with negative 6, which is pretty small as well. So let's work that out. 0.998 nanograms into micrograms. And I am going to say the unit. 1 nanogram is small, and 1 microgram is big in comparison. The number is going to therefore go from big to small, which means I'm going to divide. So I'm going to take 0.998. I'm going to times it by 10 to the negative 3, and I land up with 9.98 times 10 to the negative 4 micrograms. If I'm going from milligrams into grams, this was a milli, at milligrams into grams, I am going to land up dividing by 1,000. So I simply divide 32 by 1,000, and I get 0.032 grams. Now we get onto our kilometers per hour and our meters per second. And this, I really recommend that you use the long method. I am going to say, what does 100 kilometers per hour really mean? It really means 100 kilometers per divided by 1 hour. If I want to change that into meters per second, it is the same as 100,000 meters per 1 hour in seconds is 3,600 seconds. And when I punch that into my calculator, I foolproofly get 27.78 meters per second. I don't try and be clever and divide it by 3.6, or because I'm likely to get confused and have to want to multiply it and then stuff the whole question up. If I'm going in the other direction, so I'm going 50 meters per 1 second. What does that really mean? It really means 0.05 kilometers per 1/3600th of a second. And I put that into my calculator as 0.05 times by 3,600. Because, by the way, a denominator inside a denominator lands up being a numerator. So then my 3,600 is there. And I then land up with an answer of 180 kilometers per hour.